Hello and welcome to yet another Unreal Engine tutorial. So in the last episode, we got our enemy's health above its head, and if we hit play, we walk up to that enemy. As we get in range, their health bar appears above the head. But what if we didn't want to run it like that? I don't know if I explained it well enough in the last tutorial, but what if we wanted to avoid having 1,000 enemies with overlapping regions in order to avoid lag? More importantly, what if we wanted to provide more interactivity for the player to, say, upgrade a skill which would allow them to view the enemy's health? Well, that's what we're going to do today. So let's head over to, we'll just close that because that was left over from earlier. Let's head over to core, and this is going to go in B_hero. If we pop up to the test map again, go to settings, into project settings, we scroll down to input. We can see here if we've created a mark input. We haven't, so we'll hit plus, and this is kind of going to be a mark or a scan, that sort of thing. And later on when we do grenades, I also want to use this button to switch grenades, which I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So for now, let's just call it scan, or whatever you want to call it. Now originally I had this marked to X on the keyboard, for X marks the spot. Yeah, really lame, but I'm just going to use X again because I can't think of a better key at the moment. And for our controller, we will use gamepad right thumbstick button. So that means when you click in on the thumbstick, it's R3 for PlayStation. Then we will be scanning the enemy under a certain condition, that is. Back over to our B_hero. Let's type in scan or mark or whatever you decided to call it, whatever suits you. And the condition is going to be if we are aiming at an enemy. In other words, if we are in iron sights. Now, so we can figure out if we've got the key held. Not necessarily if we are in iron sights, but if we've got the key held, because we might not have a weapon equipped at some point. We want to go up to our aim script here, or iron sights on, and we want to hit plus on the variables and go iron sights on question mark. Let's alt drag that in, and if we are pressing the key, then we will have it on, and if we are letting go of the key, then we will have it off. So let's compile and save that. Now back down here at scan, we can then drag in the getter by holding control and press B. So this is how we're going to determine whether this button switches grenades or whether it scans the enemy. This is going to look a lot like line trace, because essentially that's what we're going to do. We're going to line trace to see what our line trace hits. So let's get player camera manager to start with, get actor location, get actor forward vector, and then we're going to line trace by channel, which will plug into the true of our iron sights here. Now the start will be easy, that's just going to be actor location, but the end, we need to add these guys together, drag off one vector, hit the plus sign, vector plus vector is going to be how this part works. For forward vector, we want to also add the ability to counter in range. So let's get equipped weapon, get child actor, cast to base weapon, or weapon base, I keep saying it the wrong way. Let's right click and turn that into a pure cast. And then off of that, let's get range. And then we want a vector times float, which will go into the bottom. So this is very similar to what we did for our actual shooting, except that we actually need to go and get the reference to the weapon, and I will come back and clean this up later so we can get on with the video. Now out of there, let's grab the out hit, hit break hit result. We want to grab ourselves the hit actor. We'll drag out of hit actor and we'll cast to enemy. And if we find this arrow down here, we can actually drop that back down and keep it neat. And then once we've got our B enemy base cast to, if we go back over to enemies and open up the enemy base, we were setting the visibility of the HUD here. So instead of that going through the sphere, we'll disconnect that. We're essentially going to put this script on the other side. So there's your reference. And we could copy and paste, but just in case it doesn't, let's drag off of that, get enemy HUD. And from enemy HUD, let's set visibility. Then let's also drag off of here and set tick enabled. If we wanted to keep it a little bit cleaner, we could line that up there. But we also need to reverse these because it would be good if we could turn off that scan if we wanted to declutter. The more options we can give the player in most instances, the better. Drag out of enemy HUD and is visible. And if the HUD is visible, then we'll act on these two. We'll put a knot here so that our first line coming through will be true. So if it's visible, we'll set tick enabled and set visibility. And if it's visible, then we'll turn off the tick and the visibility in false. We'll drag down these rewritables, keep it clean. So obviously in this case, there's not a lot I can do about these overlaps, but for the moment it is fairly clean and our scan should be working now. So let's compile and save that. Hit play, and the range should be good here. If I'm able to hit the enemy, I should be able to. Yep, that's a hit, which means with this equipped, if I was to aim and press X, now I can see the health. And if I press it again, the health is off. So one more thing we need to do in enemy base. Our death script here is all good and well, except that the HUD will stay up there if we don't turn it off. So let's copy this over. We don't necessarily need to disable tick, but I want to keep this here just in case you like to leave your enemies on the ground for more realism. So that means that if you have 100 enemies, you'll have turned off the tick and it won't be firing behind the scenes. So basically when we kill the enemy, the health bar should disappear. Compile and save that. Let's aim, scan, shoot the enemy, and health bar disappears and we're good to go. So there's our other way of scanning the enemy's health, and later on when we do a skill tree, we'll also set this up so that the player has to unlock it. Likewise, you could also set it up so that you could toggle between having the sphere set up, so an enemy's health is in range, or using the scan function. And just to make sure our range is absolutely working, we'll pick something with a little less range, say this shotgun over here. And if I'm out of range and I aim and I press X, I'm still in range. It's about 2,500. It's a pretty huge range. But if I aim over here and press X, we're getting absolutely nothing because we're out of range. Run back over there. It's all working and good to go. Working as well. So we'll leave it there for now. I'll see you guys in the next episode.